Hi, I'm Cheryl Ball, and I am going to be doing a wedding toast. There are many couples who I believe God brings together, and Alicia and Titus are just such a couple. Their story is a neat one, and one I think that other young people can be inspired. Alicia had been studying piano with a heart to serve God with that talent at Northland for the last, up to that point it was 3 years, and she had served 2 years at camp. And she was interested in another guy until the end of summer, about the last week or two of camp. And when I came to pick her up from camp, she points to this guy and says to me, "There's your future son-in-law." And I'm like, okay, wait a minute here. I didn't really get to meet him at that time because he was busy packing and helping people get their cars loaded. So she talked about him a little bit on the way home. But what was really funny was the next day when she was reading her Bible, doing her daily Bible reading. And I'm not an advocate of someone just randomly reading verses, and neither is she. This was her systematic reading. That's where she was that day. And she read in 2 Corinthians 7. And this might sound kind of choppy because I'm just grabbing those few verses out of that chapter. But it says, "But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by the coming of Titus. And besides our own comfort, we rejoice still more at the joy of Titus." And then, "But just as everything we said to you was true, so also our boasting before Titus has proven true, and his affection for you is even greater." So she was just cracking up laughing and comes and tells me about these verses, and I'm like, you know, honey, God might just be telling you to take another look at this Titus and see if maybe he's the one. And Titus, on the other hand, grew up at Northland on the campus pretty much because both of his parents were instructors. And he ended up attending college there and grad school, and he ended up being a high school science teacher in Michigan. And he had worked at camp for several summers, and he was interested in her for most of that summer, but he never contacted her until after she was home. And the next day after she read all these verses, he contacted her on Facebook. I guess that's the way you do things nowadays. And wrote her this long message, and they started messaging back and forth, and pretty soon they're talking on the phone a lot and doing the Skype thing, you know. And as their relationship progressed, they shared personal goals and discovered that they both had the same burden for inner city kids. And they've done some looking around and stuff and realized that right where Titus lives, outside of Detroit, is perfectly located for a ministry to inner city kids. And their vision eventually is to have a recreation center. And they're going to start right away actually ministering to inner city kids. Alicia wants to teach piano for free, you know, for the kids, anybody that's interested in music. And they'll both be working at the school there, so they just want to do an outreach to them. And they eventually want to have a recreation center where kids can come in and get away from the city and have constructive things to do like music, and Titus is good with sports, so it just seems like a really good match. And I don't know, I think theirs is a match made in heaven if anyone's is, and that's not to say that they'll never have problems or never hurt each other's feelings, but I think they've dedicated their relationship to God, and I think God will bless them for it. So, to Alicia and Titus, may God bless them abundantly and use them greatly.